All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers, their win over the Buccaneers. Obviously, this was like I said before the break, this was a much anticipated return. Um, Not even just like from a pure football aspect, but also from a fantasy aspect as well. Because he was universally the first pick in the draft, in most people's drafts. It wasn't my drafts, and I'm sure many others as well. But he is back, and he didn't have a huge game, but he made plays. He made plays, and obviously him being back just elevates the 49ers. And you had him back, you had Juwan Jennings back. Deebo Samuel was a little banged up, but he played. George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall had a touchdown in this game. So, I know Brandon Ayuk's not coming back this year with the torn ACL, but he's still got a lot of weapons on this team. And let's kind of go through it. So, and Brock Purdy played well in this game. And the 49ers, I know this game was dicey, but, if Jake Moody makes, his field goals, this game would have been over earlier. He went 3 for 6 on field goals. So, to kind of go through it, both teams exchanged punts to start the game. Then the Niners went 6 plays, 71 yards. Brock Purdy connected with Ricky Pearsall for a 46-yard touchdown. They had to review it because it looked like he stepped out of bounds short of the goal line, but it ended up being upheld. So, yeah, it was 7-0 Niners. The Bucs punted, then the Niners went up 10-0. Jake Moody made a 28-yard field goal. So then the Bucs, they ended up getting on the board. Chase McLaughlin kicking a 30-yard field goal. Moody missed his first field goal of the day, and this was a 49-yarder. The Bucs ended up punting, and then we went into half, and it was 10-3 at the half. So then we went into the second half. The Bucs punted, but the Niners ended up fumbling on the punt, and that resulted in a Baker Mayfield to Rachaad White touchdown from 9 yards out. Niners then kicked a field goal on their next drive, Moody from 33 yards out. Then the Bucs went 10 plays, 70 yards down the field, and Bucky Irving from 12 yards out scored. So, yeah, that made it 17-13. And then Moody misses another field goal. This was a 50-yarder. Bucs then punted, and then the Niners went down the field. You had a 30-yard pass play to Christian McCaffrey. And then Purdy on 2nd and 10. There were a couple of, this was a good throw, a good play. But, Baker made an unbelievable play, too, on a 4th down that we'll get into. He hits Kittle in the back of the end zone. Kittle got both feet in, and they went up 20-17. Then the Bucs punted, and Moody missed yet another field goal. This time was a 44-yarder. So he had a rough day, but he did make up for it with the game winner. And then the Bucs had to go for it on 4th and 7, and I had no idea that this play happened until I saw the highlights when I got home last night. But Baker looks like he's going to get sacked on 4th and 7. He's got Nick Bosa coming at him. He's stiff-arming Nick Bosa. He's running towards the sideline, and he throws it to Rachaad White, completes the pass on 4th and 7 for the first down, and eventually they get into field goal range. They got down to the 8. And Chase McLaughlin kicked a 26-yard field goal to tie the game. But, we'll get into it, though. But, even when the Bucs have lost a lot of tough games here. But, Baker's doing everything he can. He was not spectacular yesterday, but you know what? The Bucs could have won this game. Especially with all the missed field goals. But then the Niners, they went 6 plays, 39 yards. They got into field goal range again at the 26. And Jake Moody from 44 yards out kicks the game winner. Brock Purdy, 25 of 36 for 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, played really well. McCaffrey only had 39 yards on the ground. The Niners as a team only ran the ball for 75 yards. Juwan Jennings had a good game, 7 receptions for 93 yards. Ricky Pearsall, 4 for 73 and a touchdown. McCaffrey, 6 for 68. Deebo Samuel, 5 for 62. And George Kittle, 3 for 57 and a touchdown. Those are the only players that got targets and catches, and that's what you need. Those are your main guys. And the Niners defense, 2 sacks of Baker Mayfield. And then as for Baker, again, wasn't spectacular, but the Bucs could have won. He went 18 of 29 for 116 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Bucky Irving, 73 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Rachaad White, 31 yards on the ground. Rachaad White, 6 for 39 and a touchdown. He was their leading receiver. Cade Otton, 5 for 35. Baker had 3 fumbles in the game, but none of them he lost. And the Bucs defense had 3 sacks. But again, I feel for the Bucs. You know, it's just injuries have really affected this season for them. Pretty much every game that they've lost, the last 4, they've all been close. The Ravens, they were up 10-0, but the Ravens kind of, took over that game. The Bucs did make it a little bit closer at the end. They lost by 5 to the Falcons. They lose in overtime to the Chiefs, and then they lose again at the buzzer, basically, to the Niners. So they're 4-6 right now. However, their season's not over. Their season is not over. They still have a chance to turn things around because you get Mike Evans. You go into the bye. You get Mike Evans back after the bye. They got the Giants. Listen, the Panthers could be a dicey game. Could be dicey. But I think they should win. Then you got the Raiders at home. The Chargers game is going to be tough. But you got the Cowboys, the Panthers, and the Saints at home to finish off the year. So, and right now, they're 2 games back of the Falcons, and the Falcons just lost to the Saints. The Falcons are a weird team. You feel like they figured it out, but then, they lose to the Saints. And the Saints actually, fresh off of their coach being fired, you had Derek Carr airing it out to Marquez Valdez-Scantling. They improved to 3-7. The Bucs are not out of it by any means. But, they got to come out of the bye, get Mike Evans back, and they got to go on a run. But it's amazing how even with their top 2 wideouts being out, they still, they still have been in these games. Like I honestly thought once, Mike Evans and Godwin were both out, that was it. I thought that, they were going to just look lost. Well, I shouldn't say look lost, but, they just, they were going to lose by a couple of scores in these games because, they don't have the firepower. But, they hung in with the Chiefs. I mean, they could have beaten the Chiefs. The Falcons game, they could have won, and they could have won yesterday. But it's just they keep coming up short. And the defense also is not playing great. It's just it's unfortunate because the Bucs did get off to such a good start, and injuries have just kind of derailed their season. But like I said, I don't think it's over for them. I think they still have a chance to right the ship and get back into this. So I'm not off of them yet. But it's either going to be. It's going to be tough with the wild card, just because you got teams that have better records than you right now. The Packers, the Vikings, and one of the NFC East teams, whether it's the Eagles or the Commanders. So, they gotta win out, basically. I think if they win out, or if they lose at least one more game, I think maybe that's still good enough to make the playoffs. I don't know, but the NFC is so logjam right now. It's just who knows. But when it comes down to this though, the best bet for them is winning the division. But unfortunately, you already went 0-2 against the Falcons this year. You could have won the first game. I think they should have won the first game. I really don't know how they lost that. I thought when Kirk Cousins threw that interception towards the end of the game that the Bucs were going to win, but they didn't. So, but their season is not over. So they're going to get Mike Evans back, like I said. That's going to help. And, we'll see if they can make a run. But it's unfortunate, though, because they have been in all these games, and Baker's doing everything he can, but it's just you're coming up on the losing end. So we'll see what happens when they come out of the bye week. But, for the 49ers, again, they haven't been doing it. Their wins haven't looked pretty. But they're getting it done. They got their full array of weapons back, essentially. And you're hoping that they get healthy on defense and they go on a run. This is a team that I think is going to go on a run. McCaffrey obviously was good, making plays like I said, but wasn't spectacular, and that's fine. They're easing him back into it. And it's only a matter of time before, he has a big game. And the 49ers will even take another step forward. But look, as long as they won, because when Jake Moody's missing all those field goals, he looked like how he looked, early on in the season last year. and had a great Super Bowl performance. So, he's a good kicker. It's his first game back. He missed some time. So hopefully they get that squared away because, you don't want to missing kicks, against like the Lions, let's say, when they're playing them later on, and against your divisional opponents too, because this division. We'll see what the Rams do tonight, but the Cardinals won again. They're in first place, and the 49ers are going to get another crack at them at some point. They got to play the Rams again too. But this division is tight, so the Niners got to keep winning. And like I said, I think they're going to go on a run. I really do believe that. They do have tough games coming up on the schedule. Like I said, you got the Lions, you got the Bills coming up. You got some divisional games. You got the Seahawks next week. You got the Packers at Lambeau. There are tough games coming up. So, but I think they are going to be up for the challenge because they got their guys back. As long as they can stay healthy, which I think, as of right now, knock on wood, that ends up being the case. So, but an entertaining game. And like I said, I just feel for the Bucs right now because it's just they are on the losing games of these heartbreakers. The last 2 weeks, they lose on game-winning plays, game-winning touchdown in overtime, and then a game-winning field goal at the end of regulation. So Baker Mayfield, like I said, he's stiff-arming Nick Bosa, and he hits Rachaad White for a first down on fourth down. It's trying, but it's just like I said, they just are on the losing end of these games. So, but let me know what you guys think about this game. What do you think about McCaffrey's debut? Again, he's going to have some big games down the stretch here, and he's going to have to because, they got some tough games coming up. So, but I really do think the Niners are going to go on a run, and I think they will make the playoffs. But we'll see what happens. So, let me know what you guys think about this game. So we are going to take our final break of the show, and then when we come back, we will preview tonight's game between the Rams and the Dolphins, and that will send us to the end of the show today. A very interesting show with technical difficulties and other stuff. So, for one final time today, make sure to stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.